Good morning, almost afternoon, but it's still morning. Good morning, everyone. First of all, let me observe all protocol. Let me thank Apostle for the opportunity and the responsibility that I've been given to come and share on this topic of men's health issues. Let me thank the High Table for affording me the platform. And let me also thank the speakers and who've spoken and those who are still to come. And all of you gentlemen, I saw someone here. Let me thank you for coming, those who love peace, those who love bones. Those who are waiting for the El Clasico this weekend, and those who are Gunners and those who are Reds. Right. I think everyone is covered. Okay. If I even covered you, maybe you should choose another team. Okay. All right, let me start. So, I've been asked to speak on men's health issues. I thought about it, what exactly it may be relevant in this time for men to hear about. And I'm sure you've heard talks before about health and stuff, but I think my thinking was we need to speak about something and do something about it. Okay, it's not just about talking, all right? Because whether you realize it or not, you are a man on a mission. You are a man on a mission. And for you to complete the mission, you need the license to walk this earth, which is your body. We've heard about the spirit, the soul, but now I'm going to talk about the body. That's your license to walk this earth. Okay? And you cannot complete your mission, regardless of how spiritual you are and how you are in touch with your soul, if you don't have this license. Okay. Can you just show slide 1? Actually, slide 2. Yes. Oh yeah, sorry. Just go back to the title. So, run with horses. So I decided to entitle my talk, Run with Horses. You'll see now just why I said you must run with horses. Okay. All right, you can go to the next one. So this verse says, if you fail under pressure, your strength is small. If you fail under pressure, your strength is small. So you are going to be under pressure. You are constantly under pressure. Gravity is pushing you to the ground constantly. And there's other pressures that you're going to face that are targeting your body. Now, if you fail when that pressure comes, it means your strength is small. Your reserves for your body are too low to cope. Just go to the next one. There's Jeremiah. He says, if racing against mere men makes you tired, how will you race against horses? How will you race against horses? The implication is you are supposed to race with horses, not just mere men. So that's why I took the title of my talk. You need to run with horses. So what do I mean you need to run with horses? You need to operate at that optimal level. You need to operate at that optimal level with your body. Right? Jesus offered his body as a sacrifice for our sins. He could not have accomplished his mission without that physical body. He tells Mary, don't touch me. I haven't yet ascended to the Father. He had to go complete elements that were linked to his physical body, all the way to bringing his blood before the altar in heaven. You need your body to finish your mission. The Bible says in Romans chapter 12, verse 1, you must offer your body as a living sacrifice. What does it mean to offer your body as a living sacrifice? I believe it means using your body optimally, keeping your body optimally to serve the master. To serve the master. Okay. Now, optimal performance requires that you must be in the right state of mind, and your body should be in the right state physically. Okay, you can go to the next slide. So, okay, maybe this verse has nothing to do with the talk. I just wanted to put it there because I'm a bone doctor and I talk about health. Okay, but anyway, if you go prior to this verse, it talks about trusting in the Lord. It directs us to where the source of this strength will come from, this health will come from. Yes, we're talking body things, physical things, but ultimately the connection, as you were taught just this previous session, soul and spirit, that connection needs to be there. Then you will have health, healing for your body, and strength for your bones. Okay. Right. So I'm going to talk about two elements. The first one is on the state of mind. So I'm going to talk about burnout, okay, which kind of links to mental health. And then I'm going to talk about the state of the body. I'm going to touch on three areas. Because of time, I'm not going to go deep into them, but I'm just going to touch certain issues that I felt are pertinent on the body, okay, touching on diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and cancer. Okay, let's talk about burnout. All right. So, how many of you can say you know of someone or you knew of someone who probably had this kind of a thought? I have had enough. I will take my life because living is painful. It is better to die. That kind of a thought. How many of you would say, I know of someone or I knew someone who probably had this kind of a thought? Right. Now, can you put 1 Kings chapter 19 verse 4? 1 Kings chapter 19 verse 4. 1 Kings chapter... No, it's not on the slide, sorry. It's not on the slide. 1 Kings chapter 19 verse 4. This is Elijah. In the NLT, he says, okay, that's King James, but in the New Living Translation, it says, I have had enough. Lord, he said, take my life, for I am no better than my ancestors who have already died. I want to put it to you today that Elijah was in the 4th stage of burnout. You can go to the next slide. Was in the 4th stage of burnout. You can go to that slide that shows the stages of, or the 5 stages of burnout. Okay. So you can look there. Of course, the honeymoon phase, nothing's wrong there. And then stress begins, and then chronic stress, and then burnout, stage 4. There's apathy, there's exhaustion, there's despair, and there may be physical symptoms in the body. Physical symptoms. And then there's habitual burnout. Okay. So all these stages have got things that you can look at and see. Where am I? Because as Pastor Masang was just talking now, we need to be aware of ourselves. We need to be aware of not only our mental state, and we need to be aware of our bodies. And you will not get to see these things if you don't reflect, if you don't take a step back and see why you do certain things, how you feel, and what you're thinking, what's happening, what's stressing you at work, what's stressing you at home. Is it moved to the level of it being a chronic stress? Because if you don't deal with it at the onset, it's going to become chronic. That's the nature of disease. If disease is not dealt with at the onset, it becomes chronic, and it gets to a stage where some things are not even reversible, in some stage, in some conditions. Okay, but you need to watch yourself, and you need to time to think every day. And as believers, we actually have a good opportunity, because when you sit down to meditate on the word, when you sit down to read the word, that meditation also looks inside. It should also look inside. Where are you? Where are you with God? That's what God asked Adam. Where are you? You need to ask yourself that question. Where am I in my relationship with my wife, in my relationship with God, in my relationship with my children, in my relationship with my co-workers? Are there any things that are stressing me there? Have I dealt with them? Have I come to the person and say, hey, I was listening to another podcast this week. This guy says he was fighting with this another guy at work. They always never saw eye to eye. But then he says he took a step back and did a reflection and realized, no, man, this guy, we have the same personality. That's why we clash. And then he sat down with him. Hey, dude, look at the personality traits. You're born as your fan. They're like, yeah, and then they sorted things out. But he had to take a step back and reflect and think. Okay. So what are the keys? So this actually put up, I think Dr. Paula who put this up. Let's look at the keys. Next slide. Some keys from one of the Harvard studies. They say you must connect. Okay. One of the things God did when Elijah was suffering from burnout, he connected with him first. He had a conversation with him. Right? And after that, he actually connected him with Elisha. You need to have a connection, a live connection, not only with God, but with other human beings who are going to help you carry the load and share whatever burden that you carry. You need to connect with people. You need to have healthy relationships with people. Okay. You need to also shift your perspective, your mind, your attitude, your perception of things. You need to, the Bible says we have the mind of Christ. You need to think like Christ. You need to think from a heavenly perspective. You need to, a lot of the times people will see themselves as victims, and that just drives them deeper and deeper into the hole, and they get into burnout. You need to think differently. The Bible says you're more than a conqueror. You need to take that perspective, right? Prioritize self-care. Do you take time to rest? Do you take time to reflect? Do you take time to look after yourself? If you don't do that, you might be going down the wrong precipice. Okay. And of course, you need to reduce exposure to stressors, right? There's some relationships you may need to limit. Some you can't really get rid of. There's some people who are toxic that you can't get rid of in your life. There's some places that are toxic that you can avoid. Okay. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the body. Okay. Now, I'm going to talk about a little bit about diabetes. I'm not going to talk about what is diabetes. I'm sure you guys know that. What I want to talk about is insulin resistance and the pre-diabetic state. Right. Now, in the US, it is estimated that 1 in 3 adults is in the pre-diabetic state. 1 in 3 adults is in the pre-diabetic state. South Africa, when it comes to matching the US in terms of disease profile and things that have to do like obesity, these lifestyle diseases, is the leading country in Africa when it comes to that. So it matches the US very closely, right? 1 in 3. Okay. What is insulin resistance? So insulin resistance, it is when the cells in your muscles, your fat, and the liver, they don't respond well, okay, to insulin. And they can't easily take up glucose, okay. So this is what happens in the body. The pancreas secretes insulin, right? So insulin is like a key, okay? Insulin is like a key, right? So if you can think of it, you eat, and then let's say this is the environment within your body. So glucose is in the environment, okay? But then glucose needs to go in there, into the cell, inside the cell. Okay, it's just floating around outside the cell in the interstitial space, okay, or in the bloodstream. It needs to, for it to be used, it won't be used in the bloodstream. It has to go inside the individual cells, whether it's a muscle cell or liver or fat cell. So for it to go in there, insulin has to bind to a receptor in the cell wall. When insulin binds to that receptor, then that receptor opens the channel for the glucose to go through. Right. If insulin, how resistance then, it means when insulin goes to that cell, the cell doesn't respond, it becomes resistant. It doesn't recognize insulin, so it will not open the channel. And then the glucose floats around. It doesn't get inside the cell to get used. Now, you feel hungry. That person feels hungry because the cells are going to send a signal. We are short of glucose, so you need to eat. Then the person eats more, but the glucose is not getting into the cell. That's the state of insulin resistance. Okay. Now, why does insulin resistance develop? So if you look here at this diagram, okay, so lipotoxicity induced insulin resistance. So there's overnutrition, so there's too much glucose. This person eats a lot. And then what that does to the fat cells, the adipocytes, it causes them to hypertrophy, to become bigger than they're supposed to be. So when that happens, the macrophages, which is a type of white cells, attacks or interacts with them such that there's an increase in inflammatory cytokines and circulating free fatty acids and adiponectin. So my cytokines are implicated in a pro-inflammatory state. Okay, a pro-inflammatory state is a state whereby the body, I would say, is angry, is not comfortable, is fighting, right? Then diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, those are pro-inflammatory states. Diseases like allergies, they are pro-inflammatory states. Okay, so that's what happens. Okay, and then those are the liver cells and the muscle cells at the bottom there. Then they don't react the way they should to this glucose. They become resistant to insulin. Okay, so the next slide actually shows essentially the same thing in the same sense. No, sorry, the next diagram, not this one. Just go back one. So there's that adipocyte, they're hypertrophied. And then so what will happen in the muscle cell is increased insulin resistance and decreased mitochondrial function. The mitochondria is the power generator in the cell. Okay, it's the structure that creates adenosine triphosphate, which is the energy currency inside the cell, right? So then the mitochondria will not function well, so they won't be able to produce the energy. And then that's why your cell will feel like, there's no energy here. Please bring more glucose. And it's a completely messed up communication now, right? And then the same thing happens in terms of the heart. There's decreased mitochondrial function, and the cardiac insulin resistance also increases. So the cardiac muscles are also becoming starved in a way, right? And then the liver, kind of similar things. And then that's the pancreas. That's the person then gets type 2 diabetes, not type 1, type 2. Okay, I'm not going to go into now. Why? So the two major factors that contribute to insulin resistance, it's excess weight and physical inactivity. Excess weight and physical inactivity. When you are physically active, your muscles become more sensitive to insulin. When you're physically inactive, they become less sensitive. So what can we do? One of the ways to test is a glucose tolerance test. A glucose tolerance test. Okay. So when I was in medical school, we were taught that the glucose tolerance test is a 2-hour. It's called a 2-hour. It's a 2-hour test. Basically, you drink a solution that has got 75 grams of glucose, and then your glucose is then checked at intervals up to 2 hours to see how your body is responding to the loading of the glucose, and now trying to adjust your bloodstream glucose to the normal level so that you get what you call homeostasis. Okay, so now there's a recent publication from this year from the International Society that looks at diabetes So they published a new guideline. They say there's a 1 hour glucose tolerance test that can be done that is more sensitive. Okay, right. So that test actually, if you do that test and then your 1 hour glucose level, if it's at a certain level, it can either show your body is not reacting properly, or it can show that this person actually is now diabetic. It's more sensitive than just doing one prick or doing a fasting glucose, right? A glucose tolerance test. Okay. Let me move on. So what's the solution? So obviously the solution is diet and activity, right? That needs to be tailored to your body also. Okay. Let me just say something on diet. So, cooking is another key. So, cooking is important, but you must not overcook your food. Okay. Now, I'm sure when you were in high school, you were taught that proteins, they get denatured at what temperature? You remember that class? Okay. Proteins, they get denatured, which means the chemical structure of the protein gets changed or broken down to a state where it is not like when it was before the cooking started, which means that spinach, if you overcook it, whatever protein is there, if you overcook it above that temperature, the natural enzymes and proteins that were there above a certain temperature, they won't exist basically. You may just be eating the basic components, the amino acids. Okay, so that's another thing, but I'm not gonna dwell too much on it because of time. Let me go to cardiovascular disease. You can go to the next slide. Right, so cardiovascular disease manifests in different ways. A heart attack, coronary artery disease, that's cardiovascular. Peripheral artery disease, that's common in smokers. And then rheumatic heart disease, where the valves of the heart become damaged, okay? And some infections can cause that, okay? Like what we call rheumatic fever, whereby the person has a staphylococcal infection, and then the bug then sits on the valves of the heart, and then some weeks later they suddenly start having a malfunctioning heart because the valve is now damaged. Cerebrovascular accidents, strokes, okay? So if you can see that diagram there's two circles there next to that brain. One where the vessel is blocked, person can get a stroke like that, or where the vessel ruptures like a balloon. Okay, it got so weak that they had what we call an aneurysm and just ruptures. This week I saw on LinkedIn one guy posting, is in his 40s. He says he was not feeling well and stuff like that. Then he went and consulted, and they found it big aneurysms in his brain. He posted a photo of himself with clips across his scalp. Right, you saw it, Apostle. Yeah, I actually commented on it and said, thanks for sharing, because these are the things we need to be aware of to prevent. Right. Fortunately, he listened to his body. The anesthetist that I work with in private actually also had a heart attack. We were working with him in theater this one day, and then he could feel something was not right. So while we were working, he goes to the other theater. He just connects an ECG machine on himself to check. He didn't see anything wrong with the patterns that were traced by the ECG machine. He didn't tell us. He came back. We continued working. The next day, he had another list that he was supposed to work in, and then he was still not feeling well. So he then went and did blood tests. There's some blood tests you can do to see if your cardiac muscles are being deprived of oxygen. So he did that, and the markers were high. He had to be admitted right then and there. He was very lucky in that overnight he could have died, actually. He could have died. All right. So those are some of the manifestations of cardiac knocks. And there's deep vein thrombosis. Deep vein thrombosis, that's when clots form in your veins. Usually they form in the lower limb veins, okay? And then what happens is those clots, they then can dislodge. They can block in your veins, or they can then dislodge. When they dislodge and they come back towards the heart, When they get to the heart, they then move out of the heart. They can either, when they go to the lungs and block, that's when you get a pulmonary embolism. Pulmonary embolism can be fatal. I remember one nurse when I was working in Tembisa. She came to work in the morning. I saw her when I was walking in to do the morning meeting. She had this chest pain. She walked to casualty. And then as she was walking to casualty, she couldn't cope. Those who know Tembisa, the orthopedic wards are all the way down there. Then there's a bit super steep as you're going towards casualty. One of the colleagues had to come and help her. They put her in a wheelchair. They pushed her to casualty. After the morning meeting, I passed by casualty because I think I was on call, and I saw they were doing CPR on her. She didn't make it. In a few hours, she was gone. That's what happened. Pulmonary embolism can be quick, like a heart attack in killing. Okay, it's all because of a blood clot. I had a young patient not so long ago at the academic hospital who, he had other issues, congenital and stuff. But he was fine talking to the family. He was operated the day before, day after he's fine. Ward round in the morning is fine. In the afternoon, he was sitting, chatting to his family and stuff. Sometime later that afternoon, boom, PE, gone, dead. Postmortem said is the big one. It's called the saddle embolus. It just sits there on the two pipes that go to either side of your lungs, and it's gone. Blood clots. So what can you do? You need to keep your water. Drink water, guys. Drink water. Drink water. Right, because that keeps the viscosity of your blood low. So those of you who are engineers, they know viscosity. Think of a pump. Okay, the cardiovascular system is a pump and pipe system, right? Pump and pipe. The heart pumps the vessels, the arteries, the pipes. Now, if in the pipes if you put mud in the pipes, the heart will be strained because it has to force this mud through this narrow pipe through. If the pipe gets narrowed, as that diagram at the top shows with atherosclerosis, the plugs that narrow the pipe, if the pipe becomes narrowed, the heart has to pump extra. It will become tired. That's how people get cardiac failure, right? So if you keep the viscosity of your blood low, then it's easier. And then your vessels, you keep them compliant, which means they respond when the heart pumps. They are not stiff, okay? So the NHS has got these following guidelines, okay? It says, eat healthy, balanced diet, be physically active, keep a healthy weight, give up smoking, reduce your alcohol consumption, I'm sure these last two are not applicable to us. You keep your blood pressure under control, keep your diabetes under control, take any prescribed medicine if you need to, all right? Guys, I don't understand why anyone would smoke. Maybe it's because it has just never made sense to me why someone would smoke. Okay, I know it's addictive. Okay, I know it's addictive. But besides the nicotine high and that, there is absolutely no benefit. I'm telling you, there's no benefit to smoking. I look at these women sometimes. You know, smoking and alcohol is more lethal to women. It's more lethal for women than men. We're different, guys. You know, I was in another meeting on Thursday, and they were saying, this guy was saying, actually, on average, women need 8 hours of sleep. Men can do it 7. You know, so we are different. The biological differences. But anyway, my point is, there's really no benefit to smoking. We see some of these guys who've been smoking for a long time. They then get this peripheral vascular disease. Then the leg basically dies off because the artery becomes non-functional. It clogs up. It can't supply the leg. They get amputations. Diabetes and hypertension, atherosclerosis, they attack the microvasculature. That's why those people end up with amputations, because the vessels end up not being patent for the blood to flow. So if the rest of your foot doesn't get the blood, it will die off. Right, let me jump to the last one, which is cancer. So cancer is on the rise. We've been seeing a lot of cancer patients. The other day, there's a time, maybe 2 months back, where I had a child who I think is under 2 that we thought had cancer. But the lab results were not really clear when they came back, but the lesion looked like cancer. We had an 11-year-old who had cancer that was confirmed. We had a 20-something-year-old who had cancer at the same time in the ward, in my unit only. And we had a 30-something-year-old guy who had cancer. I don't know what happened to the first 2, because, the first one we operated and discharged, but I don't remember seeing them at the follow-up. The second one, the parents came and took care. They said they were going to bring her back, that they never did. It's some of the abuse that happens out there with children who become sick. The third one was operated also, but unfortunately, she should not have been paralyzed by the time she came, but she was, because sometimes the wrong things happen. People don't refer patients on time. The other sad thing was she could have lived, but she died, because we think someone came to the hospital and gave her herbal medication because she just went into multi-organ failure that looked like an element of herbal poisoning. The other guy was a young guy, and he had advanced cancer by the time he came to us. He was not even operable. So my point is, that guy was 30-something, so he was the oldest of the 4. So cancer is on the rise. So we used to say if a patient is above 40, you must screen them for cancer. All these patients were under 40. So cancer is not a far-fetched thing that will affect old people. We actually have a guy now in the ward who's got breast cancer. Breast cancer affects guys too. Okay. But the most common cancer among men, which I'm going to touch on now, is prostate cancer. Right, prostate cancer. So these are the stats. It is, at the moment, they say about 1.2 million cases of prostate cancer per year in the world are reported. Now, let me say this. There's underreporting for us because a lot of people don't go test. Okay. In the US, the rate of cancer among black men compared to Caucasians is 60% higher. So you can do the maths. Right. In South Africa, there's this paper that came from Bloemfontein, I think earlier this year or 2 years back, by Mamelo Sekocha and some other authors. They said looking at the South African cancer registry, they said the prostate cancer rate in 2007 was 29.4 per 100,000 men. But in 2012, it had gone up to 67.9 per 100 men. That's almost triple in that period. And we are in 2024. I don't know what the rate is now. Okay. So, I lost an uncle earlier last year to prostate cancer. He first saw the symptoms during COVID. He didn't tell his wife. He was like, I don't want to go to hospital. They'll keep me there and then I'll die. People are dying of COVID. So when COVID kind of subsided, that's when he started, but the cancer was growing, at the time. When he came to us, when he came to the academic hospital, he already had metastasis to the bones. So that's stage 4. That's stage 4. Needless to say, we buried him some months. He lived a bit though, but I think he lived more than a year, if I remember well. But also, okay. Now, there's something I want to touch on here with cancer. Okay, so in Italy, they did this observation. Somehow they're like, oh, why are these Italian men not having a cancer rate that's similar to the other guys? So then they boil it down to, these guys eat a lot of pizza. Okay, then like, okay, but what is in this pizza that is making the difference? So they actually found out that the tomato is the one responsible. So what is it in the tomato? There's lycopene. So lycopenes, it's actually what makes the tomato red. Okay, lycopenes. So the urology department of the University of California, San Francisco, actually recommends that men must consume 2 or more servings per week of cooked tomatoes, such as salted, roasted tomatoes, marina sauce, tomato soup. So it actually reduces the rate of progression to prostate cancer by 20%. So, pick it up there on those tomatoes, guys. Tomato sauce, cooked ones, okay? Right. So now, when it comes to cancer, okay? When it comes to cancer and a lot of other conditions, okay? These 3 things I've mentioned, they've got a strong link with lifestyle. Yes, with cancer, there's higher risk if there's relatives, close relatives who've had the cancer and stuff like that. But there's an element of lifestyle. So science has recently come to know a field called epigenetics. Epigenetics. Okay. Now, what's epigenetics? In simple terms, you've got genes in your cells, DNA, whatever. Okay. Now, the epigenes are switches on the genes that depend on your environment, all right, to make you survive. Okay, so if the environment is such that there's no water, there's certain epigenes that will switch off or on to help you survive. If the environment is such that there is too much glucose in this guy's bloodstream, there are certain epigenes that will be switched on or off. Okay, so that is where lifestyle and diet has or creates an impact in influencing which genes get coded and lead to actual manifestation biologically in your blood, right? So that's why lifestyle changes are very important. Looking after yourself. Okay. Some of these things are actually influenced even by neurochemicals. Neurochemicals. Okay. Now, as I conclude, earlier this year, we lost a general in the faith by the name of Jerry Saville. In the funeral at Jerry Saville, his wife, a video recording was played of his wife. She told us that Jerry Saville had a cardiac problem. Okay. Actually, even, what's his name now? That other guy with white hair. That other, why am I forgetting? Jesse Duplantis, yeah. Jesse Duplantis said in the service that Jerry Saville had a cardiac operation at some point. Ne? And then he was supposed to come for another follow-up operation. During his first operation, the assistant surgeon in theater saw an angel standing in the corner watching them while they were operating on Jerry Saville. Jerry Saville's wife then said this to us: please, go do your checkups, follow up on the things that you need to follow up on. So he was supposed to go back for another operation, but things got busy, things got postponed. And it's not official, but just thinking from a medical perspective, he said he was tired at the time when he preached the day before he died. As a doctor, I think he had a massive heart attack that night. Earlier this week, there's a young man by the name of Sir Chris Hoy. He's 48 years. So Jerry Saville was 76. This man was 48 years old. He announced that he's got terminal cancer. They didn't tell us what cancer it is, I think. But you think this guy is an Olympic athlete, he could have maybe picked up certain things earlier. My point is, let's do the checkups that you need to do and follow through. You can go to the last slide. Ne? So, what's your take home? What take home will I give you? So, Philippians says if you know something, do it. Live up to what you already know. So you need to drink enough water. I'll give you a test. Every time you go to the loo, the other time, I think it was Dr. Shabang who actually said that. Said, when you check there, don't just, if you can't see your machine gun. So this is what I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to go back to that. Those who were there in that camp, they know. Okay, this is what I'm going to tell you. Don't just look at your machine gun. Eh? Look at the color of the urine that flows out. If that color is orange, you haven't been drinking enough water. You need to drink 0.5. Just check your weight. The minimum water you should drink is 30 mils per kg. So multiply your weight by 30 mils, then you will get the amount of water you should minimum, not juice, water per day. All right. Do your glucose tolerance test annually. Do an ECG stress test. ECG stress test annually. Okay. Check your prostate specific antigen levels annually. So I know a lot of guys are afraid of the exam. Hey, the doctor is gonna put his finger there, you know. But do a PSA. Do a PSA test annually. Okay. And finally, diarize your time for rest every week. Put it in your diary, your time for rest. Thank you.